Now, obviously, it's a statement, Tanya, right? So we don't even have to ask. And it's relatively simple, right? I mean, we have to figure it out in the most general way possible. But we know the Gemara itself is going to deal with all four of these cases. So we just have to get a basic understanding of case halacha. Arba devarim ha'oisiason poter midinei adam v'chai b'dinei shamayim. Right? If we just translate those words, we know what we're talking about. There are four things that if you do them, so you're poter midinei adam. Now, poter midinei adam generally means what? In this context, it means every single time.
In the human court, basically.
In the human court, and what's that going to mean?
Basically.
Yeah, and what does that mean? What's not going to be necessary in any of these cases? What can't based in do?
Make him chayav.
Take away money, right? Make him chayav to pay for something. We're going to be talking about some damage that someone does, and yet he's not going to be obligated to pay for that damage for whatever reason. But he's chayav b'dinei shamayim. In other words,
he'll be judged.
yeah, his behavior is completely unacceptable, but we can't obligate him to pay money for it, right? Because he fell in a crack. Okay. So it's not, I mean, to say it very loosely, but very loosely, it's morally reprehensible. Okay? Now, there's all sorts of things that are mutter, that the world will call morally reprehensible. Okay? So we don't, but it's the improper behavior. But yeah, I mean, he's not chayav to pay for whatever reason. Okay. Ve'iluhen, what are they? Haperetz geder bifnei behemis chaveri. What's the first case? We know what the halacha is. The halacha is always poter midinei adam chayav b'dinei shamayim. So there's not going to be any halachas here. There's just going to be cases. What's the first case?
The friend break down the fence of his friend's
Right. He
animal.
broke down a fence in front of another guy's animal. And what evidently happened, we assume?
The animal
The animal went out and did damage, and he's not chayav for that damage. What he did is disgusting, but he's not chayav for that damage. Right? Okay. Simply, why not?
He broke the fence, but he didn't leave the animal
Didn't
out.
take the animal out. Okay. That's interesting. Now, what might we think he should be chayav for, but obviously he's not, and we have to figure that out.
Breaking the fence.
Yeah, why isn't chayav for breaking the fence? I don't understand. I'm not allowed to come and take a sledgehammer to your car. I didn't cause an accident, but I broke your car. Okay, we have to figure that out. Obviously, the Gemara is going to be wondering about that. Okay, fine. But we seem to be dealing with the fact that he's not responsible for the damage that the animal does. And now we've actually seen something similar to that. What have we seen?
Opening
The robbers.
The robbers, right? The listim who broke in to steal stuff from the house. And they ended up leaving the gate open or whatever they did. Right? Okay. This one's a little harder to figure out exactly what he did. We know the Gemara itself is bothered by it, but okay, simple pshat. What does he seem to have done?
There's an existing fire, and the guy bent over the
Right, he bent over the wheat, so now it's going to be in the path of the fire. Okay, so we're obviously going to have to figure out. I mean, I understand. I mean, if it's obvious that the fire is going to come, so then. What's he doing? Right? Didn't he just throw it in the fire for all intents and purposes? And yet, I guess he didn't. Because if he did just throw it in the fire, what would we say? He's chayav. He burnt the guy's wheat. So I guess it's going to be something else. Exactly what it is, we're not so sure. Right? But what is clear? He's definitely not bending it over with the clear intention to burn it.
Huh?
Right? What?
Oh no.
I don't think so, because if that's clear and it's rather obviously burnt, so then I would imagine he'd be chayav. There must be something going on here that's unusual that we don't understand.
Previous example, the guy wasn't intentionally breaking the fence.
No.
No.
He broke the fence.
Intentionally.
but not to get the animal out.
Oh, because our problem, when we said putter, we weren't talking about the fence, we were talking about the animal. Right? And we had a question about the fence. Why isn't he obligated on the fence? Here, the only thing getting damaged is the wheat. In the first case, did he intentionally let the animal out? No.
Okay, but if he's judged by the heavenly court with Chayav, then his intention probably wasn't so good, no?
Okay, I hear you. Right? We'll have to deal with it. The Gemara is going to deal with this at great length. right? So it goes all the way down, at the bottom of the page. I gave you those words. We're not going to do them all today. We'll see. Right? Okay. Not clear. Third case, a secher edi sheker lahayid. What did he do?
Hire false witness.
Hired witnesses to lie in court. Okay, simple shot. Why is he putter?
He didn't lie.
He didn't lie. They did. What he's doing is absolutely horrible, but he didn't lie. Okay, they lied. Okay, this seems to be a classic example of the rule in shaliach l'davar aveira. There's no shaliach for an aveira. Right? Giuseppe sends out, I don't know, give me another name, whatever, Louis, to go kill someone. Louis goes out and kills him. So who's the murderer? Louis, not Giuseppe. That was always the problem, getting the head mafioso guys, right? Al Capone killed hundreds of people. They couldn't get him on anything. Why not? Well, he didn't do it. He had an organization that was doing it, but they tried so hard to pin things on. What did they actually get him for in the end? Tax evasion. That's how they got Al Capone in jail. Now, Al Capone was not a nice guy, right? He was running a really serious outfit that was terrorizing Chicago and other places also. They couldn't get him on anything. He didn't do anything. He just sat there and, he terrorized Louis and whoever else he sent out to go kill them, right? Because what did Louis know if he didn't go kill the guy? That was the end of Louis. Who's going to kill Louis? Not Al, right? Al's not killing him, but Louis will die. Probably mysteriously, he'll have a car crash. Right? Okay, so that exists even in non-Jewish legal forms, right? That if someone, it's often hard to pin a crime on someone when he's not the one that did it, even though he's responsible for it, but he didn't do it. Right? I don't know exactly what racketeering is, but they get them on that. What's racketeering? You're a lawyer. Come on, you're supposed to know that. I don't know what racketeering is, but they get them on that racketeering. I'm not sure what that is. Do you know what that is?
Not making a noise, making a racket.
No, it's not making a racket. Anybody know? I'm not sure. It has something to do with business and improper business stuff, but I'm not sure what it actually is. But it's illegal, and they sometimes get these guys on that. It's like running things in an illegal way, okay? But this is very interesting, right? Because he didn't do anything wrong. Well, he did, but nothing that caused direct financial. He didn't do an act that caused direct financial loss or gain. Or did he? The Gemara is going to ask about that, right? Okay. And the fourth case, that what?
He knows information that would allow him to testify on behalf of his friend, but
he doesn't go testify. Okay, now this one's really interesting, right? What do we assume his testimony would result in?
helping.
Okay, and testimony does more than helping usually. It usually, sort of sets the halacha. Okay, but what would happen if he did testify? Which evidently he's not responsible for.
The guy would be putter?
Either putter or someone would owe him money, one of the two, right?
Yeah.
It would save someone money or cause someone to lose money that, right? Somehow. But he's not responsible for that. Now this one's a really interesting one, and the Gemara asks about this one. And okay, we don't know it, but we do. We're allowed to. Isn't this a derisive?
Yeah.
What are they talking about? It's Nisa Derisa, the Torah, and the Gemara is going to bring that up. But I'm allowed to know that this is a Nisa Derisa, right? Because I've learned the Torah, I've learned Rashi, okay, etc. This is like a really strange one. Because Nisa Derisa not to testify in court if you know testimony that will result in a certain resolution of a halachic problem. So that what's this? Okay, we'll see. Saying it? Now, I didn't expect you guys to ask that question when you read it, because you might not know that there's such an isser, but the Gemara brings it up, right? So it's like, wait a minute, this is the Raisa, what's going on? Amar Mar. Now, Amar Mar, we said this before the second one, but I should have said it before the first one. When the Gemara does this a lot. When the Gemara quotes a Baraisa and then starts explaining the Baraisa piece by piece, before each piece that it quotes, it will say Amar Mar. That's just a way of introducing a certain piece of a Baraisa that we've already quoted. Okay? It says Amar Mar. Mar means Ploni. Ploni means John Doe. Yochanan Doe. Yochanan Dovich. Whatever his name is. Right? Okay? Okay? Amar Mar. Haperetz geder bifnei behemis chavere. Now, when I see Amar Mar, I know I'm now going to discuss one of the cases we just brought up in the Brisa. That's what's happening. And sure enough, that's what happened. Heichidami. What does Heichidami mean? What's the case? Right? In a Mishnah, how do you say that? Ketzad. When a Mishnah writes something and says Ketzad, the Mishnah is asking for a specific case to illustrate the rule that I just told you about. Okay? So in the Gemara, Heichidami, what's it like? What's the case? That's what all it means in our language. What's the case? Ilema. What's an ilema?
If you would say.
Okay, that's the translation. What's an ilema?
It's going to question something. It's going to bring something up. They're going to knock down. Basically.
Okay, so it's an answer we don't accept. That's an ilema. In our language, statement, question, answer, proof. It's an answer we're not going to accept. Every ilema, as we said yesterday, has three parts: the answer, the question on the answer. Then it will say Ella, rather, and give me an alternative understanding. Okay? What does Ella mean in the Gemara? After a question, Ella means I've accepted the question and I am reevaluating things as opposed to answering the question. Most questions that you and I have in the Gemara are answered. Someone will ask a question, we'll give an answer. So that's that, right? End of question. Right? If after a question the Gemara says the word Ella, it means I'm not answering the question, I'm accepting the question. It has successfully defeated whatever it was interested in defeating, an answer given or a statement made or whatever it happens to be. And let's say I had a question and then an answer, and then I ask a question on that answer. And then I say Ella. That means I've accepted the question on that answer. That answer is no longer valid, which means now I need a new answer to my original question, because the answer I gave just got thrown out. That's what Ella means. Usually we answer questions, sometimes not. But that's Ella after a question, only after a question. Ella can mean all sorts of things. Right? It can just be rather in the context of a conversation. But in an ilema, you're almost always going to run into an Ella. You're going to have an answer, question on the answer, and then Ella. When you see the word Ella, you know you just finished the challenge, the question on the answer I gave. That's when you know you hit that. So if you didn't notice that, go back. Oh, I just asked the question, I didn't even notice. Okay, what was the question? Okay, let's go.
Question. If this is an answer, then what's the question?
What's our question in this Gemara?
Yeah.
Hey Chidami, what's the case? That's my question. I want to know what the case is. What's the case where someone broke someone's fence, the animal got out and did damage, and the guy who broke the fence is punished? What's the case?
Isn't that the case?
Well, but that I don't understand the case fully enough, because you already asked a question on the case. What question did you ask already?
Why doesn't he have to pay for the fence?
You know, why doesn't he put there for the fence? Hey, Hidami, what's the case? What happened? Right? Okay. Hey, Hidami, what's the case? Now, I just want a fuller expression of the case. I gave you a basic halachic rule, but I might not know exactly how that expresses itself. So I want to know how that expresses itself. That's called what's the case, right? Hey, Hidami. Did everybody shower today, I hope? Say them. Hey, Chidami. Ilema, answer I'm not going to accept. Bekaisel body. If you're going to say what's the answer we're not going to accept?
Healthy wall.
That it was a healthy wall, and it was a perfectly good wall. He came and just smashed a perfectly good wall. If you're going to tell me that's the case, what's happening next? You know what's happening next because it was introduced with Ilema. What's the next little clause? What? Not yet. I'm not. Ella's going to come after that, but I haven't done something yet. What do I have to do after I have to question this answer? Meaning, I know the words that are coming up are the question on what I just said. It's going to challenge the validity of what we just said. We just said, if you're going to say that it's a kesel body, I'll show you why it's not a kesel body. There's a problem with explaining the case that way. Why? Bedine adam nami nechayev. That what? What's the question?
Then in the law of man, he should be.
He should also be chayev in based in. Why?
Because he broke down.
Broke down a perfectly good wall. I took a hammer to your car. I didn't drive your car into the next guy's yard and kill his cow, but I put a hammer to your car, so I don't understand. I put there for your car hitting the cow. Okay, I get it. I didn't push your car to hit the cow, but I broke your windshield. Why aren't I chayev for breaking your windshield? Right? Okay, question. We know now, Kalman, what's the next word? Ella. I know I'm accepting the question because it was introduced with Elema, right? And there's going to be an answer, a question on the answer, and then Ella, rather, and now a new answer, right? Rather, bekesel re'ua. That what? It was a bad wall, and okay, a bad wall. Therefore, what? A weak wall. Therefore,
Probably a common wind would took down.
oh, maybe a normal wind would knock it down, but I mean, in all fairness, I understand. I'm allowed to just go around breaking down people's walls that I think.
So it doesn't injure anyone.
Oh, yeah, fair. We mentioned this in tutorial, right? That what might this guy be obligated to do with a wall like that that's on his property? Repair it. And by knock it down and build a safe wall, because this wall is unsafe for everybody else. So the case must be, the Gemara says, Reuven came along to Shimon's wall, saw the wall, right? Now it could even be that Reuven is being morally upstanding, at least thinking he is, right? Oh my goodness gracious, look at Shimon's wall. What a slovenly character. I'll show him. And what does he do? Breaks the wall. Now this wall is supposed to come down. But does Reuven have the jurisdiction to break Shimon's wall? Well, he's going to be putter from what? Two things now. He's going to be putter from
breaking the wall.
He's going to be putter from breaking the wall.
Putter from fixing the wall.
So that means he's putter from breaking the wall. If he's hired to break the wall, that means he has to fix it, either financially or, right? Is that it? There's no animal here anymore? We're only talking about the wall?
He's also for the animal getting in.
I guess, even though interesting enough, now we don't need an animal in this story anymore, right? Now all we need is the wall, because the chiddush is that he's not obligated for breaking his friend's wall, even though, I understand, what are you doing knocking down someone else's wall? Okay, it's reprehensible behavior, you're chayav b'dinei shemayim, but I can't obligate you to pay for the wall. Why? Simply now. Why? What evidently did Shimon have to do to this wall? Break it. So did you cause any financial loss to Shimon? No. Are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed just to go around and start breaking people's? No. Why would you? Out of your mind, right? But you didn't cause any financial loss to Shimon. So what can't I hit you with? Damages. I can't hit you with a bill for damages. You didn't cause him any loss. Because what does Shimon have to do? It might be Shimon's already got a summons from the city government that within 1 week that wall is down, or we're going to fine you. It might be Reuven ended up saving Shimon money. That's not our issue, right? That seems to be the case. Wow, wild case. Okay. In that case, not obligated. But what might you think about this case relative to Reuven? Reuven's a big tzaddik, right? Reuven has saved the possible damage that might happen to other people. Walk away. He got rid of this michshol, this stumbling block. He could have hurt people.
He could have caused other damages. Because, the wall would be not a problem, but if the animals can go out.
If there are animals, there's no question there's something else happening over there, even though we don't assume he's going to get hit for that damage either, because we saw that with the listing, right? Okay. But if there's no other animals in there and all he did was knock down the wall, I might think he's actually a good guy. No, he's not a good guy. What are you doing knocking down other people's walls? holier than thou, just, you want to go knock on his door and say, Shimon, you know, that wall is really, really wild. You want me to knock it down? Right? And Shimon says, oh, would you do that? I've been trying it for a week and I just can't find the time. That's fine. So now he's a tzaddik. But if he doesn't ask Shimon, what are you doing banging on Shimon's wall? It's not your wall. Get away from there. Okay, that seems to be what Rabbi Yeshua is telling us, which is interesting. Okay. The next one's a hard one. Amar Mar. Ha'kaifef kamasa shel chavere b'fnei adaleika. He somehow, right? Zoikeif kafufim, the bracha you say every day, right? Straightens up the crooked. Mm-hmm. So he made crooked. He like bent over the wheat. So I guess it got in the way of the fire. B'fnei adaleika hechidami. What's the case? Now in this one we were really wondering what the case is, because what was our basic question already when we saw it? What? So he bent it down and the fire got it. Why is he putter? I don't understand. B'dinei adam, I understand. He put it in the way of the flames. Right? Okay, so the Gemara is also bothered by that. Hey Chidami, what's the case? What did he do actually, this guy? If you're going to tell me that what? There's a ruach mitsuya. Okay, so what did he do? He bent over the wheat. There's a fire over there, and what should he know? And he is obligated to know that fire is going to reach here, because in a ruach mitsuya, in a normal fire, that fire is coming here. So what are you doing, putting his wheat in the way of that fire? Now he might have had good intentions. I have no idea. But good intentions, bad intentions, doesn't matter if you, or, you know, I really thought I was fixing your window when I took the hammer and I smashed it. Okay, wait until you have children. Our 41-year-old son, when he wasn't 41, was an interesting child, and he got his little brother and all these things also. My wife said she was upstairs once and she hears like woodpeckers. Just this. What is going on? She goes downstairs. Each of them has a hammer and a screwdriver, and they're standing next to the wall on the porch. Making holes. They made like 150 holes in the wall with the hammers and by the time she got there, right? So she goes, "What are you doing?" Right, which is a reasonable question to ask. Right? What are you doing? So he looked at her with complete sincerity and said, "We fixing." Okay, that's what he was doing. Okay, now an adult is not allowed to say that, right? Okay, but that is what he said. We fixing. He's now a father of 10, you know. So in the end, don't worry. They figure it out, and he's a very responsible father. But as a child, he was unbelievable. He used to do all these crazy things like that, like we fixing. That was his line. Okay, so if it's a ruach mitsuya, I understand. You intended, you didn't intend. I'm not really interested in intent. If you cause damage to someone else's property, you're responsible. So in this case, what would you say about this guy who pushed the wheat down in the path of the fire when it's a ruach mitsuya? How would you describe him in a way that the Gemara has already described someone relative to fire? What would you say about this guy? What's he like? We saw the words, so you can use the words. Ad da'avid, what does he become like? Remember when you were talking about minimal guarding? When was someone obligated? This is not this guy. This guy, it's not his
He
fire.
acted in the way of someone that would.
As if he set the thing on fire. Actually, right? Oh, okay. So that's not this guy. That's the guy who lit the fire. I get that. Okay. But that sort of applies to him too in this case. Wait a minute. If you're bending it over in a place where the fire is passing and there's a normal wind that's bringing the fire and you fully should expect the fire to get here, so then why in the world are you not obligated? Question, right? So the Gemara says, "I beruach mitsuya, ilem adamatile beruach mitsuya." Sorry, if you're going to say that it reached there based on a normal wind, but then adam nami mechayev, then what? Why is he not chayev for damaging the wheat? I mean, isn't he ke'ein mavir? Like it's as if he set the wheat on fire? Right? I mean, if someone was watching this and the fire is coming and it's a completely normal day, right? And this guy pushes the wheat over. What would they say to him? What are you doing? Why are you burning this wheat? Right? That's what they'd ask him. Oh, yeah, 100%. That's what he's doing. So of course he'd be chayiv. That can't be the case, or else he'd be chayiv b'dinei adam. And what's the halacha? We know what the halacha is. What is the halacha? What the b'dinei adam? He's doing something terrible. Chayiv b'dinei shemayim. I can't obligate him for the loss. Why not? Oh, okay. So what do we say? Ella, magical word. The magic baruch she'ena mitzuya. That what?
We're talking about an uncommon wind.
Uncommon wind. Meaning he's doing this. Why are you doing this? I don't know. Do you have a right to do what you're doing? No, you shouldn't be doing this. What are you doing? This is his wheat. Why are you playing around with his wheat? Okay. Now maybe he has a good reason. Maybe he's trying to save it. I don't know. I'm not sure. But what are you doing? Okay. So but dinei shemaim, I understand. Who are you just like draying around with someone else's wheat? On the other hand, is he responsible for the physical loss of the wheat? I mean, there's no reason for him to expect that fire should come here. So and we'll say that he's not responsible. The fact that the fire came here, that was, so to speak, an act of God. Oinus. Okay. So he doesn't have to pay for it.
But we're talking about a weak wind.
No, a strong wind.
Strong.
Stronger than normal wind, which sent the fire over here, which he
Okay, but
needn't have expected.
In a case of a strong wind, nobody would be chayev. But if he pushed down intentionally with that force, the standing wind, then he should be chayev in the.
Well, wait, hold on, we have to devise a case where he's going to be putter, right? That's our job. I can devise a case where he's chayev, where he pours gasoline on it and throws a match. I've got that.
How I understood, if he did less force than a normal wind,
Not
so
he.
the friend.
Wait a minute. What's the normal wind? What's the normal wind affecting?
There's still a normal wind. If you weren't negligent with a normal wind, in the case of a normal wind, then you're.
What's the normal wind doing? I understand what you're saying. I never ever entertained that possibility.
So
Wait. I'm asking everybody else. 1 second. What's the normal wind doing?
Blowing when he knows when he's there.
What's it blowing?
The fire.
The fire.
Okay, but then he would be chayav in the first place. The one.
He is higher than a normal wind. Absolutely, 100%.
But probably in this case he wasn't chayav. He made some.
In this case, it's not probably. I know he's not chayiv. That's what we're trying to figure out. What is the case where he's patur b'dinei adam? I know what the halacha is. I'm just trying to figure out what the case is, right?
The other guy. I was talking about the.
What other guy?
The one who made the fire in the first place.
No, we're talking about but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a keifes keimaso shel chaver. Reuven set a fire over there. I don't know what's with Reuven. Okay, Reuven. We're not worried about Reuven though. We're worried about Shimon, who took Levi's wheat and pushed it down, so now it's in the line of fire. It's in the line of the fire that's coming from over there. Now, maybe no one set that fire. Lightning set that fire. I don't know what happened to that fire. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the guy who bent over the wheat, right? That's our case. Shimon bent over Levi's wheat such that it was in the way, it was now in the path of the fire coming from over there. How did that fire start? I have no idea. The Gemara is not interested in that. The Gemara is only interested in Shimon and Levi. Who set the fire over there? I don't know. God. Lightning. Lightning hit something and it started fire. Most of the forest fires in North America in the summer started by lightning. Right? Most of them, not all of them. Unfortunately, there's a lot of arson now. Here in our country, most forest fires are started by Arab arson. Right? Because we don't have lightning in the summer. We don't have rain in the summer. We don't have clouds in the summer. Right? We just have Arabs. Right? Okay. Yes, I would agree. Right? So, Derech Agav, just completely parenthetical, but, if you want to be an advocate for the Jewish enterprise, if you're sitting on a plane someday, and somehow the topic comes up, or you want to bring it up, because you might think, don't talk about wars. Talk about the ecological damage to the deer and to the forests that the Arabs do through their arson. Oh, they kill deer? Oh, that's terrible. They killed 6 people on a bus yesterday. No one could care because they're Jews. Couldn't care less. You're never going to get them on your side because of what happened yesterday. Ever. Oh, they killed Bambi? And they will respond that way. They'll, oh, that's terrible. Yes, the ecological damage that they're doing is just, oh, that's terrible. They go on a bus and shoot people dead. Well, you know, they have reason. They're freedom fighters. But Bambi's innocent. The Jews aren't. Bambi is. It works every time.
The war in Gaza is the sole cause of climate change.
Oh, is that the latest?
Yeah.
There wasn't climate change before.
No, it's just so much worse now because
Someone sent me one of those little, things that people make up, or whatever, So I had a picture of that. I don't want to even say her name, that very unfortunate autistic child that has been taken advantage of for the last 10 years. So they said, I understand. Why is she so in favor of a Palestinian state? The world is ending in 6 years because of climate change anyway. So exactly what's in it for them? But she doesn't really believe any of that. So I thought it was a clever take on it. I'll let them have a state so they can die in their own state. Okay. Seder. So what happened? He bent over the wheat, so that's now in the path of a fire. But is it reasonable for him to assume when he did that the fire will not reach him?
No. Yes.
Yes. Why? Because in a common wind it won't. And then all of a sudden what happens? And whoa! It catches fire. Now, I thought where Tzvi was going, but he wasn't going there. But we still have to deal with it. It's not obviously the case is not that he's standing there. There's a fire over there. He's not doing anything to this wheat. All of a sudden, a real wind whips up that's bringing the fire over here, and he goes, aha, and he bends the wheat in the way of the fire. That's obviously not happening, because in that case, he'd be chayav b'dinei adam, right? So what is the case? He's bent this over somehow. Whatever he did, I don't know, he took a 2x4, 10 feet long, and he bent it on the wheat to bend the wheat over for whatever reason he decided this was a good thing to do for Shimon. Right? Or Levi, whoever his wheat he's been to, okay? And then and there's a fire over there. He's not worried about the fire over there. Why isn't he worried about the fire over there?
Light wind.
Because, a normal wind, it's not coming here, so he's not worried about that. Right? He sees the reality. He sees there's a river and there's a fire break, and there's no way that fire is making it over here, so he's fine. And then all of a sudden, a wind whips up and brings the fire over, and before you can do anything, the wheat burns down. That seems to be the case. And in that case, what do we say? He's chayav b'dinei shamayim. Why is he chayav b'dinei shamayim? I mean, what are you doing playing around with his wheat, evidently, right? But he's not chayav b'dinei adam. Why?
Because the wind was
It's an uncommon wind, and he's not expected to expect that, such that he's responsible he's directly responsible for this wheat burning down. Is he a nudnik? He's a big nudnik, that's for sure.
I'm just curious. What's the problem with my scenario? Where
You seem to be saying we're comparing his pushing to a common wind or an uncommon wind. Isn't that what you were saying? How hard is he pushing the wheat down?
Yeah.
But I don't. You and I have already run into the notion of a wind relative to Aish, and the wind relative to Aish seems to be that which is affecting the fire, not the stuff that's burnt by the fire, but the fire itself. How quickly does the fire spread? I mean, we've already run into that relative to Aish.
And I was thinking that the standing winds are weak, so a small wind would anyway bend them over. just as with the defense was very weak. And probably
Okay, but Seder, I don't know whether this case is similar to that case. Again, where in our experience, when have we seen wind and fire come together in terms of understanding obligation? Relative to the path, the moving of the fire, not the moving of whatever it is that's burnt by the fire. This guy, I assume, I mean, he bent it over. The wind didn't bend it over. He bent it over. Right? How much strength did it take him to bend it over? I don't know. It would have taken a hurricane to blow this stuff flat. But okay, but he took boulders and pushed it down. I don't know how I don't know how he pushed this stuff over. But what he did was bend the wheat. So he took the wheat which was standing here and he somehow pushed it over here and the fire came along here. Right? So the issue, again, we've seen this issue. That's why I would explain it this way. I think simple pshat is with the issue of could I have expected? Is it reasonable to expect that the fire would come here? No. Ruach Mitsuya, the fire wouldn't come here. It's Ruach Sheina Mitsuya. What was going on? I assume what was going on was a Ruach Mitsuya. And if I'm stuck in the middle of a Ruach She'ena Mitsuya, so I'm not allowed to start putting things in the way of things, saying, well, it's a Ruach She'ena Mitsuya, I'm Potter. What do I understand? It's not right now it's a Ruach Mitsuya. This is the wind that's out here right now.
But in this case, why is Chayav in the heavenly course?
Good question. Right? Probably similar to the first case. What are you doing driving around with someone else's property? Who are you?
How you know that it's not his property? Because it's
Well, then he's
it's
not
close to
chayav
the
for that.
fence.
Wait, one second. Think about what you just said.
And
What is he chayav or potter for in Dinei Adam? What's he chayav or potter for? The loss of the wheat, right? If it's his wheat, so what do you mean chayav or potter? I'm not chayav or potter if I take a hammer to my own car, right? I can do whatever I want to my own car. I'm a lunatic if I take a hammer to my car, but it's not a function. A Beis Din doesn't come to me and say, "Oh, what are you doing? You're chayav to pay yourself." Well, no, I temporarily insanity. I'm potter to pay myself. Okay, don't pay yourself. It's me. It can't be his wheat. It has to be someone else's wheat. And it says in the case, "Hakefev kamase shel chavera." He bent someone else's wheat over. It has to be someone else's wheat because what the damage is happening to the wheat. Okay.
The way I thought of it, what he ended up doing is burning someone else's field.
Someone else's wheat.
Okay, I thought it was someone else's
Oh, you mean
field.
the wheat then spread and it says his friend's wheat, so the issue seems to be his friend's wheat. He put the friend's wheat in the way of a fire, in the path of a fire. Okay, so the friend's wheat burned. So now it's not my wheat, it's his wheat. I burnt your wheat this way. Question: you come to Beis Din and say, there's this maniac in my field. He took a 2x4, bent all my wheat over, and it all got burnt because of the fire next door. I want my money. Beis Din asks, what happened? What happened? So we find witnesses. Obviously, every case we're looking at is a case where we know exactly what happened. If we don't know what happened, that's a separate issue, right? We know what happened. Okay, how do we know what happened? I don't care. It doesn't matter. Two Adim come and say, whoa, that wind was something else. You see it just pick up like that and take that fire and send it flying? Oh, when Beis Din hears that, what do they say? We can't take any money away from this guy. Give it to you. I'm sorry, because it was a Ruach She'ena Mitsuya. They might ask, when did you bend it over? After the Ruach Mitsuya, the She'ena Mitsuya started, or before? Now, obviously, it must be before. He bent it over, and things were normal. And he said, make up the story. He saw the fire, and what did he say to himself? That's not coming here. I'm okay. What are you doing? I don't know. He's a noodle, but he's not worried about burning down the guy's wheat. Right? He's got some. He read on internet once that if you bend over wheat, it grows stronger. So he's just helping his friend. He thinks he's doing him a big favor. Right? Before that, he said a couple of brachas relative to the wheat. Also, he's like a real character. Okay. And then the fire comes, like a razor on the head. It just took off that whole slice of the wheat that he bent over. All this is fine, but this is all gone. Is he chayav or not? So we say no. That's really interesting. So the Gemara asks, what do you mean no? Right? Oh, because it was a Rukshina Mitsuya. In other words, it's what you and I call oinus. An accident. Not something he'd be responsible for. Is he a noodle? He's a noodle. Chai b'dinei shamayim. What are you doing joining around with someone else's stuff? But I can't take money away from you. Because there's no mechanism in halacha for Beis Din to take money away from someone when an accident happened.
Even in this case, right, he should not supposed to be there. So
Well, you just read it. Again, the halacha is clear. We're not. There's no discussion about what the halacha is. We know what the halacha is. Pater b'dinei adam, chai b'dinei shamayim. So there's no. We can't move that. We just have to find the case that fits. So we just found a case that fits. I might not understand exactly why it fits. Okay, but that's the case. The Gemara just decided it fits. So now, in all fairness, I don't know enough about halacha to say, wait a minute, hold on a second. To say that intuitively I don't get it, that's not a question. To say that, wait a minute, there's another case in halacha that seems to be very similar to this, and he is obligated. Oh, that's a good question. Right? But to say I don't understand it, well, I mean, I have to understand it. This is the case the Gemara gave, and based on what the Gemara understands, this is a perfectly reasonable thing. I'll ask you another question. Right? Similar. I don't know the halacha. Your cow is in the barn. I go and take your cow outside into the yard. Locked, the gate's locked, padlocked with guards all around with machine guns. This cow's not getting out anywhere. Lightning comes and hits the cow and kills it in the middle of the yard. Am I chayav or potter? Good reason to say I'm potter, right? I understand. Right? I did something reprehensible. What are you doing taking his cow out of the barn? What are you, out of your mind? Right? On the other hand, it was an act of lightning hit the cow. Right? Now, what if there's this unbelievably crazy electric storm happening and I move the cow out? So there, in that case, there's a reason to say, wait a minute, you should be chayav, because that's already mitsuya. It's a very good chance. Lightning's hitting all sorts of stuff. Trees are cracking in the forest from lightning hitting them, and half the top of the trees falling off. So what are you doing moving the cow? In that case, it might be that you'll say, what are you, crazy? What are you taking the cow out? You endangered the cow directly by moving it outside. But in a regular sunny day, I took the cow and I put it outside. All of a sudden, clouds come in, boom, lightning, one thing of lightning had hit that cow. Now, there's no question that I'm responsible for the death of that cow, on some level. Can Beis Din take money away from me? I highly doubt Beis Din can take money away from me. I sit by lightly. What do you want from me? What I did was, what are you doing? It's not your cow. Who are you to do that? And that's the idea of chai b'dinei shamayim. You did an aveira, but not every aveira costs you money. Right? That's the way it goes. Because in all fairness, halacha has certain mechanisms that are in play, and if I can take money away from someone based on those laws, then I can, and if not, I can't. And there's times I can't take money away from someone, even though I'd like to. And I'll say that your action was reprehensible. There's no way I can charge you for that. You're not going to lose money. You might lose Eilam Haba, but you're not losing money. Okay. Rav Ashi Amar, Tamun Itmar. Tamun, it's talking about. Hidden. Mishum the Shavya Tamun Be'esh, because he equated it hidden in fire. Okay, first things first. Function of Rav Ashi. What's Rav Ashi doing? Beautiful. Alternative answer to the question of Hechidami. Yefeh. Good job. That's the first thing I have to do. And if I do that, I basically understand the Gemara. Even if I don't understand what in the world Rav Ashi is talking about. I don't get this Talmud business. But I know exactly what he did, and if I don't get it, I can go fight her in the Gemara, because I know Rav Ashi has another answer. I didn't understand his answer, but he gave another answer. Okay, so I know Pshat in the Gemara. And let's say there weren't two dots, and the Gemara continued. Okay, I still could go further because I understand what Rav Ashi did. I don't know how. I didn't get it. I couldn't figure it out, but I know what he did. He gave an answer, so, weiter. Okay, good. Well done. Okay, so now, this answer that he's giving, what does it have to explain?
Why he's
Why is Pater?
Pater?
Pater midinei adam and chayav b'dinei shemayim. B'diuk. We're still trying to figure out exactly the same halacha. What's the case that produced that halacha? So what did this guy do? Okay, there's a halacha before we see what he did. There's a halacha, tamun be'esh pater. So what does that mean? You know what that means from yesterday. What does that mean?
Something's hidden in the fire. You're not.
Or the
Right.
fire
Something
was-
covered up that fire burns, so the person who would normally be responsible for that fire is pater, relative to that thing. He might be chayv for other things, but that which was covered up, he's pater for. Okay? So now, all of the different ramifications of that, you and I don't know. I mean, we learned one basic idea about a halacha. Okay, so one thing I would know, right? How could I create a situation where something that's burnt would be covered? I don't mean as a pun. Would be taken care of by virtue of the tamun be'esh pater. What might be a case? What could I do?
That you're responsible.
So someone would be pater in the case of tamun be'esh. What did the person do? Not necessarily in order to make the person pater, to be pater. He did this act, and in the end, something happened. It burned, and he's going to be pater because it was tamun. So what did he do to this object that was burnt?
Protected the object.
He what?
Protected it.
He protected it or covered it with something. Okay, so in our case, what did this guy do?
He protected the wheat.
Oh. Well, how did he protect the wheat? What?
By hiding it.
Oh, by covering it with something, right? By covering it with something, so it was not seen. Now, was he covering it so it shouldn't be seen?
No.
I doubt it. What might be the reason that he was covering it? Which is what we might have even been covering it in order to protect it from what?
Fire.
He might have even wanted to protect this wheat from the fire that's coming, right? By covering it over with a tarp or something. Aye, but what happened?
It didn't work out.
It did catch fire. Oh, but we have to add something to this. The wheat that burned, why did it burn? Oh, the tarp. What did the tarp do? When he put the tarp on top of the wheat, what did it do?
Hold it like bent.
Right? Well, let's leave that out of it. He put a tarp on top of the wheat. Okay. So now that wheat, and he might have put that for all the right reasons. To protect it. He saw a fire coming and he wanted to protect the wheat. He just happened to be driving by. He said, oh my gosh, look what's happening. It's going to burn all of Shimon's wheat. Maybe I can say. And he goes into his trunk and he takes a tarp out of the car before the fire comes and burns him, throws it on the wheat and drives away.
It made him involved with it. Like he put his hands on it.
Okay, we'll say it, but he's pater midinei adam and chayav b'dinei shemayim, this guy. He's evidently not supposed to do that, which is hard to figure out why not. But okay, we'll deal with that. The Gemara is going to deal with that later. Okay, fine. But that's he did something along those lines. Okay, so now we say he's pater. Why might we say he's chayav? I mean, what would he be chayav for that he's not chayav for? Right? We're saying he's pater midinei adam. What is it that he's not obligated to pay for? The wheat. What wheat? The wheat he covered up.
Yeah.
Why might I think he is obligated to pay for it? Did he set the fire? No.
By putting the tarp, he bent the wheat, and then the wheat caught fire.
Oh, okay. So if you want to say that he pushed it out by covering it, he pushed some of it out into the path. So that part was covered or not covered? I don't know. Okay, there's another way of looking at
It
this.
cannot be that maybe it didn't catch fire, but you made some damages.
Well, but the case is a kaifef keimaso shel chavera bifnei hadaleka. So I assume I'm talking about a fire. Tamun be'esh is pater. This is a tricky case of Rav Ashi, but if you think about it, once you hear the pshat, if you guys don't say it and I have to say it, you're all going to go, oh, okay, yeah, but that's a hard one. Tamun Beish is potter. That means that wheat which was covered up and burnt down, can the owner of the wheat demand payment for that wheat?
No, because it was covered.
Because it was covered, right? That's our halacha. I don't understand the halacha, but I know that halacha, okay? That wheat he can't get benefit for, he can't get repaid for because Tamun Be'esh is potter. Okay, now, what if his whole field burnt down except that, including that corner that was covered up? How much would he get paid for?
Just the ones that wasn't covered.
By whom?
The person who put the.
What did he do?
no,
Who's paying him?
Who put the fire?
Oh. Reuven set a fire in his yard. Right? The fire spread. Ruach Mitzui. Which the Gemara doesn't say, but it doesn't. Fire spread. Reuven is negligent for setting a fire in his yard. Right? And it burns down all of Shimon's field. Levi, when he saw the fire coming, what did he do? He covered up, let's say, 50 square meters of, that's a lot, but whatever. He threw a tarp over some of the wheat to try to save it. Right? Okay. Did that wheat get burnt or not?
Mm-hmm.
Does Reuven have to pay for the wheat that was burnt under the tarp?
No.
No. Reuven has set the fire in his yard and it spread the Shimon's yard. Does he have to pay for the wheat that's under the tarp? No. Why not? Tamun Beish is potter. So what did this guy do? Unwittingly. He clearly didn't mean to do this. But what did he end up doing?
Helping Reuben.
What, saving Reuven that much money from not. Reuven doesn't have to pay for the wheat under the tarp. What might you think? So who does have to pay for the wheat under the tarp? Levi, who threw the tarp on. You just cost Shimon $50 because he's getting paid $1,000 for the rest of the field, but you just cost him another $50 because he's not getting paid for that wheat, and that's your responsibility. What's the halacha?
No, it's
Potter. Chai b'dinei shamayim, potter b'dinei adam. Is that a possible way of learning what we just read?
Yeah.
Now, that's a crazy pshat, but that's how Rav Ashi says pshat. Right? Tamun Be'esh Potter is going to exempt the one who's obligated to pay Shimon for whatever he burnt from having to pay. Now, if the only thing he burnt was that little bit of wheat, then Reuven would be completely potter. Why is Reuven completely potter? Because of Levi throwing the tarp on this wheat. He messed up Shimon. He didn't mean to necessarily mess up Shimon. I don't imagine he said, I'm going to get Shimon. I'm going to make this Tamun Beish. Why is he acting crazy? Right? But he ended up messing up Shimon. I'll hide the Mercedes in the haystack. Oh, what? Did you just mess up Shimon? Because Shimon's not going to get paid for the Mercedes that Reuven just burnt down by lighting, the World War III fire in his front yard. Right? Reuven wanted to burn down his weeds. Right? Threw gasoline all over threw in a mat, and it just went 4 houses down. Okay. Tamun Be'esh Potter, certain things Reuven's not going to have to pay for. Most of the stuff Reuven is going to have to pay for. Tamun Beish is a machlekes. There are people who say Tamun Beish chayav. There's people who say Tamun Beish potter. Okay, say it. But Rav Ashi says we're talking. This Rav Yeshua holds Tamun Beish potter, and therefore by throwing the tarp over it, by covering it up, by making it tamun, he caused Shimon a loss because Shimon's not going to be recompensed for that wheat. But you can't get the money away from Levi who threw the tarp on because he certainly didn't cause this damage actively. Okay. You might ask in that case, so why is he even chayav b'dinei shamayim? Good question. I don't know. Simple pshat. We can go back to our simple pshat. What are you doing, draining around with other people's wheat? Now, but he might have been trying to save it, right? If Reuven, Levi's the one who's throwing the thing. If Levi came next to Shimon's yard and he happens to have a truck with a big tank of water on the back, right? What would we not be surprised that Levi would do, and we wouldn't get angry at him if he did it?
No.
Trying to put out the fire with the water that he's got in the back of the truck, right? There's a fire coming from Reuben's place. It's reaching Shimon's yard. He might be able to do anything he can to try to save it. What might happen in that, in the context of trying to save it? This is not our case. I'm just saying in general, right? What might happen? What's probably going to happen? He's spritzing water all over the place on a wheat field. What is he probably doing in addition to saving the wheat from burning? What else is he probably doing?
Flooding the crop.
Yeah, messing up a lot of the crop, because there's one thing we know about wheat. What should it not do?
Swim.
Yeah, close to being harvested. Where do you grow wheat? In places where it doesn't rain near harvest season. That's where wheat grows, right? The prairies, like it doesn't rain in August in Minnesota, so that's why wheat grows in Minnesota and Saskatchewan, right? Okay, because you don't want, it's just not good for the crop that is completely and totally destroyed by water, and that's why they started growing it here, is cotton. You can imagine, where it rains on cotton, so it just falls apart. So of course they started growing cotton here, which was a great idea, because this is a place where it just doesn't rain in the summer, right? There's a big problem. Unbelievable amounts of water necessary to grow cotton. And guess what Israel doesn't have very much of? Water. So they started growing cotton. You know, actually, this is a stupid thing to grow, because it's costing so much money to pay for the water that we have to water this thing with, that, so they stopped growing cotton. Where was the biggest cotton field in Israel? You see it, everybody, you see it right beside the Tel Aviv highway as you came down out of the hills of Yerushalayim, and it gets flat. There's that gas station at the bottom by Beit Shemesh. It's the turn off to Beit Shemesh. There's a Paz station right at the bottom. You've probably taken the bus enough. You come out of the hills, and then it gets flat, and it's flat all the way to Tel Aviv. Right there on the right, half a kilometer, was a huge cotton field. It was beautiful. You saw the cotton in the whenever the time, I don't remember what it was. I guess it must have been the end of the summer. But they stopped because smarter minds prevailed, and they think, there's no water. Now actually there is, right? No shortage of water anymore. Why is there no shortage of water?
Desalination.
Bibi said 20 years ago he's going to do it. Guess what he did very quietly? No shortage of water in this country anymore.
Now they're flooding up the Kinneret.
Yeah. There's so many things that guy did that it's really beyond belief. He doesn't get any credit for anything. They just hate him. But it's so astounding what he did to this country. You know, it doesn't mean I agree with everything he does, but he did some stuff that's just unbelievable. He said very quietly, we're going to desalinate. There are no water issues in this country anymore. Almost all of the water used for industry and agriculture is desalinated. So you and I are drinking and showering in the amount of water that was around. Here in Yerushalayim, we don't use the water from the Kinneret. Here in Yerushalayim, we use the water that seeps down through the rock and is in underground water cisterns. I mean, they weren't, that the Abishter made, we didn't make. 50 meters below Yerushalayim, there's all these underground water reservoirs.
Aquifers.
Yeah. And they dig down, and that's why the water here is so unbelievably full of stone, because it's going through 50 meters of stone. But it's also unbelievably clean, because it's been filtered through 50 meters of stone. So it's unbelievably clean. The pipes might be dirty, that's a separate issue. No, seriously, meaning, but the water that's being dug up is unbelievably clean, healthy water. I mean, any water you drink, there's a problem going to be with the pipes, right? I mean, that's just the way it works. They pump pipey water, so but the water that's the source of it's incredibly clean water. But it has that taste, right? And it has that
Smell.
that residue of the white stuff that you get on your kettle, et cetera, et cetera. That machine that doesn't ever work that they just fixed again. What keeps happening to that machine? The buildup of the stone keeps wiping the machine out. Any closed system, most heating systems are closed, right? You fill it up with water once, and that water is going around to the radiators, and you have to keep it closed. What's the problem? If there's a leak in this country, what happens? There's a leak, so you just turn on the thing, fill it up a little and close it. Okay, but if you have to do that once every 2 weeks, which in America would be no big deal whatsoever because there's a little tiny leak and it's not bothering anything, you just turn it on, turn it off, no problem. Here, after 6 months, what are you going to end up with? Completely and totally destroy the mechanism that's heating up the water because the stone is going to build up on it. You're going to start hearing your furnace clunking away and you realize completely destroyed. This is what happens here because of the water. Because we don't use the water from what's called the National Water Remove or whatever it's called. It comes from the Kinneret, and there's a couple of reservoirs up north. You've probably driven by them and might not even noticed, right? But desalination. So theoretically, we could start growing cotton again, huh? Okay, one more, then we're going to stop. You guys are going to go see all these extra cases and then figure out. I mean, I gave you words a long way down, no?
Yeah.
Until where? Halfway? I'll give you all the way down after this.
So Kamash Malal.
Yeah, I'll give you all. I gave you till Kamash Malal?
Yeah.
All the way down to the last Kamash Malal?
No, this one, the middle one.
No, the middle one. Okay, good. I'll give you from there all the way down to the last Kamash Malal. Today I'll give you words, but let's just finish here. Rav Ashi Amar Tomo Nitmar Mishum Deshavya Tamun Beish. Okay. One more. Amar Mar. Sorry, two more. Hasecher Eidei Sheker Hechidam. Right? He hired false witnesses. What's the case? If you're going to say that what?
It was for himself.
For himself. In other words, he hired, what happened? What did he
To
do?
benefit something for him.
Oh, you go into court and lie and say that Shimon doesn't owe me money. Or that Shimon does owe me money. Right? So if that's the case, then what? What's the halacha? The Gemara says,
And he's
Higher.
nice.
Mamani by Shlemi. He'll have to pay. He'll have to pay money. To whom? What? Based in? No one ever pays based. I mean, sometimes they based in. Who's he going to pay? Yeah, the other guy, Reuven, the litigant, right? I mean, he just said, Reuven and Shimon have a disagreement about $10,000. Reuven says Shimon owes him $10,000. Shimon says, I don't owe you a nickel. Fine. They go to based in. Reuven pays Adim to come and lie in based in that Shimon owes him $10,000. That's our case? Can't be our case. Because if that's the case, then what happened as a result of Reuven paying these Adim? Reuven's going to just get $10,000 out of Shimon. So that can't be, because if that's the case and we find out that he paid the Adim and that they lied, what will we tell him to do? Give it back. He's going to have to pay the money back, or pay the money that he was, if he owed money and he brought Adim to say he doesn't, so have to pay the money that he justifiably owes, right? He's going to be obligated also in based in. If he did this for himself, he benefited directly financially by this lie. So of course he's going to have to pay for it. That can't be the case. It's true he didn't lie. I get it. He didn't lie. But he benefited directly from the lie financially, so he's going to have to pay for that benefit. Give it back. Okay. Hello. What is the case?
The lying witness for his friend.
Reuven paid money that someone should go into court and lie so that Shimon would win a court case. Okay. So is Reuven obligated to pay for that which Shimon ended up in an improper way benefiting?
No.
No. Is Shimon obligated to pay for that?
Shimon's
Yeah, Shimon's going to have to give the money back. Once we find out that these were aiding that lied, Shimon's going to have to give it back. What are we going to do to the aiding that lied? I don't know. That's a separate law. That's not our law. That's not what we're worried about. But who's not going to have to pay anything? Reuven, because Reuven didn't do anything. Reuven his behavior is reprehensible. So, but then they Shemayim, he's chayiv. Terrible aveira to get Adim to convince Adim to lie in based in. But like we said, ain't shliach l'davar aveira. Bottom line, the Adim did the aveira, and Shimon benefited. So Reuven didn't benefit. So then why should Reuven pay? Doesn't owe anybody any money. He owes God an apology, but he doesn't owe anybody any money. Also, probably owes Levi an apology for being such a creep. But that's a separate issue. It doesn't cost money. Based in doesn't take money away from him in that case. Okay. So of all the cases, that seems to be the easiest and most straightforward so far. Okay, last one. Now this is interesting because all of the words in this case are completely different than the words we've been using up until now. Instead of saying echidami, it says b'mayaskina. And what are we dealing? Ilema but betray. If you're talking about what? Two witnesses, which will win the day in court, right? Pshita doesn't say what we usually, doesn't bring me a reason why they would be obligated to pay. What does it say? It's obvious. What's obvious?
That he should pay.
Well, but he doesn't pay. These guys, right? Does he pay? A guy, right? What's he going to pay for? Reuben and Shimon, no testimony about a din Torah between Aaron and Menachem. Right? Okay. And Aaron says, will you guys please come to court and testify on my behalf? And what do they say? No, we're not coming. Did they, we're going to charge them for what? Right? I mean, what am I charging them for? I don't know what, I'm in Beis Din. Do I know that they're going to make Menachem pay Aaron? I don't necessarily know that because I don't know what's going to happen when they come to court. If everything works out with their testimony, they'll end up winning the court case for Aaron. I get that, but I don't know. Is everything going to work out? I'm not so sure. I can't take money away from them. Right? Is what they did reprehensible? Well, not only is it reprehensible, pshita. What does pshita mean?
So it's
Therefore, I don't have to be told. In other words, I don't need this case. Obviously, in this case, what's obvious? That they're patur midin shemayim or they're chayav patur midin adam or chayav midin shemayim? Chayav midin shemayim. It's obvious, right? Deraisa he. That what? It's a Torah law. What did they transgress? A Torah law that you're not allowed to not testify in court if you know testimony for someone. And the Gemara then brings the pasuk that you all looked up. And what does that pasuk tell us? That if someone knows testimony for someone, you have to, and if he doesn't, naseh avona, he carries his iniquity with him, as he did in Aveira. So I need Rav Yeshua to tell me that someone who doesn't, I need a Mishnah to tell me that someone who doesn't testify in court, and we're talking about betray, two, because that's what the Torah is talking about, right? Two people, right? That if they don't come to court, then they're obligated b'dinei shemayim. They're over in a situation, right? They ate pork, right? So I don't get it. We'll look up the pasuk in a minute. If you're going to say that we're talking about two edim that would win the day if they came into court, pshita, obvious what? That they're patur midinei adam? No, that they're chayav b'dinei shemayim. That seems to be. I understand. Of course, they did something terrible. I understand they're patur midinei adam. Fine, okay, that's also obvious, right? Because what did they do? But the fact that they're chayav b'dinei shemayim is even more obvious because it's not some interesting idea based on improper behavior. It's an issur d'oraisa. Im lo yogid d'oraisu. Im lo yogid, if he doesn't tell his testimony, v'nosa avenu, he carries his iniquity. Ela b'chad, but it must be talking about what? One witness. Now, one witness does not win the day. So what might I think?
he's not responsible because he's not necessarily going to make. Nothing's going to necessarily change hands.
Right.
He's going to get an oath out.
So even b'dinei shemayim, maybe he's not obligated because his testimony isn't necessarily going to solve the case anyway. So maybe when the pasuk says what it says, it's only referring to two and it's not referring to one. And along comes our Mishnah and says, no, whether it's the pasuk or some other, it's not so clear. But even that person is still chayav b'dinei shemayim. Okay, fine. So this last one's completely different than the other ones. The other ones, the issue was the dinei adam. Here the issue was dinei shemayim. Of course, it's chayav dinei shemayim. It's an issur d'oraisa. No. It's one aid. Right? And in 1.8, it's not clear that. Now, that doesn't mean that he shouldn't go testify, but it's not clear that he's really over any isser by not going to testify, because he can't ultimately tip the scales in the case one way or the other by virtue of his testimony. What does happen? I mentioned this yesterday. What does
It
happen?
forces the other party to either take an oath or pay.
Right. So 1.8, if there's a disagreement between Tzvi and Shmuel, which is impossible to imagine, but I mean, look, just for old time's sake, we'll think about it. So if 1.8 comes and says, no, Tzvi is right, Shmuel owes him money, so we don't take money away from Shmuel, because I only have 1.8, but the Beis Din will make Shmuel take an oath that he doesn't owe money. Until that point, the burden of proof was completely on Tzvi. You want to take money away from Shmuel? Prove it. The money's in his pocket. That itself seems to indicate to us that it's his. Now, it might not belong in his pocket, okay, but I don't know that. The money's in his pocket. Now, he has what's called the chazak. He's holding on to the money. I assume it's his. The coat, the jacket that Shmuel's wearing, who do you assume it belongs to? Shmuel was wearing it. What if someone walked in the room and said, Shmuel, give me my jacket. That's my jacket. So what would we say? Okay, Shmuel, prove it isn't. No. What would we say to that guy? Prove that it's not Shmuel's and yours. Now, might that be true? That could theoretically be true. It might not be yours and it might be his. But you don't have to prove that. You're wearing it. Right? He has to prove it. Now, he might be able to. However, to aid him, whatever, he brings...
Cameras everywhere here.
Right. He brings two witnesses that say that Shmuel sold him the coat a week ago, but refuses to give it. Okay, I mean, that's not this Shmuel; it's another Shmuel. Okay, right? Okay. So then we'll take the coat away from him. But all things being equal, what do I assume? Coat's Shmuel. The money in my wallet. Who do we assume it belongs to? Me. It's in my wallet. Tzvi wants to take it away from me. It might be his, but he's got to prove it, because I have it. Right? Now, maybe he can prove it. The money in my wallet, he's not going to be able to prove because it's not his. It's my wife's. Okay? Say that. She doesn't have to prove it.
Why did we disregard the first case? Because, I mean, it's saying she...
What, 2?
Yeah, true.
Because it's a Nisa Deraisa, so of course he's obligated.
So, but aren't they just trying to find a case where that's true?
I know, but there's no reason for me to teach that case. That can't be the case he's teaching me, because that's like telling me if you eat pork, you're obligated b'dinei shemayim. I understand that. Yeah, I know that. Right? That's not a chiddush. I assume that what Rabbi Yeshua is telling me is something that if he didn't tell me, I wouldn't know. Right? Right. Okay. Let's just quickly look up. Tired. Share these, okay? Just share them so we have to put out less. Quickly. Where's the pasuk? Im lo yagid v'yikra hey, right? Leviticus 5. Which pasuk? Yeah, it doesn't take long, huh? Okay. Leviticus. What's Leviticus in between? Huh?
Leviticus 5?
Yep. What's Leviticus in between? What 2 books? What does it come after? Shmos. What does it come before? Bamidbar. Also comes before the Devarim. It also comes before the Tehillim. But I mean, right before Bamidbar.
Numbers? Hey.
No, it's not Numbers. Vayikra is Leviticus. Okay. Nefesh ki secheto, a soul that sins, V'shama kol Allah, and heard some voice, and Allah is usually a voice of some sort of oath. V'hu aid, he's a witness, or ra'ah, or he saw, or yada, or he knows. V'im lo yagid v'nasa aveinai. If he doesn't tell, then what? He carries he shall bear his iniquity. Right? That what he's over in Avera, it's this is the Raisa. Okay, now this is talking about one guy, right? Our Gemara said, if we're talking about two, well, that's written in the Torah, that's obvious. Okay, so this one guy, what's the case that the Torah clearly is talking about based on our Gemara? It's talking one guy, if he. So we said that it seems to be telling me that we're talking about two. How are we talking about two? What is there in that story that the Chumash is talking about? What else is there out there? Someone else who also knows. I mean, there's one guy who's willing to be an aid in this case. And then there's another guy who also knows Aedus, and the two of them together could go and solve the issue. But one of them, what does he say? I'm not going. That's the guy that's being talked about in the Torah. That guy is over in Issa Deraisa.
Where do you find that in the pasuk?
You don't find it in the pasuk. That's why you need Torah Shabbat Peh, but anybody who learned our Gemara would know that. That's why I'm saying it to you guys. Because what does our Gemara say? What case is obvious? Two. That's what I just asked. Wait a minute, you read this verse, there's only one. Well, clearly, what's the verse talking about according to our Gemara? Well, there are two, but there's only one. So what must there be in our verse? Another guy. Who's the guy who's over the Isser Deraisa in our verse? Who's over the Isser Deraisa by not going to testify when he's one of two? That's the guy who's over the Isser Deraisa. Right? Yeah? That, I know that from our Gemara, not from reading the pasuk. Reading the pasuk, I wouldn't know. Intuitively, I might, but knowing the laws of Eidus, I must say, well, I don't understand. Why would one guy be usher if he doesn't come to court? He can't do anything anyway. Oh, okay. So then I might come to the conclusion that really we're talking about one guy who could make up a group of two, but he won't. That is what we're talking about. But that's pretty clear from the Gemara we just learned. If we're talking about two, where if they came to base, then they would solve the issue. Well, that's a pasuk. They only need one to say I'm not coming, and you wipe out the cat, right? You wipe out this group of 80 because now there's only one. Okay. So, but what if there's no one else? It's only him. What might I think? Part of me didn't Shemaim also, because I mean, after all, he can't do anything anyway. No, he has to come to court. If he didn't come to court, he's chayav b'din Shemaim. Is that an issue deraisa? It's in question. Not sure. Are any of these other things issue deraisa? I don't think so. Are they? I don't think so. Is God happy with them? No. Okay, let me give you words further.
Theoretically, another witness can come, though, right?
Oh, if you had one, theoretically there might be another one out there and heard about it, yeah. There's one has to go. I mean, that's what we learned in our Gemara. One has to go. Right? But he's not going to solve the issue. He could take us closer to solution. He solves the issue to the extent that we are going to get closure. Either you're going to take an oath or you're not, which means either you're not going to pay or you are going to pay. Right? So, but that's not based on my testimony, that's based on your actions. My testimony pushed you into that corner. Okay. After that first comment, Peretz geder bifnei behemes chavedai. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Ma'u detema. What is it that you would say? Now, that's a technical term. I'm going to tell it to you once, okay? Because it's everybody knows what it means who knows how to learn Gemara, and so it takes something that might theoretically be difficult and turns it into something relatively easy once you know what it really means. What would you say if I didn't tell you this information?
What's the meaning?
Mahu detema literally means what would you say? But what it really means is, if I didn't tell you this, what might you think? such that I have to tell you in order to avoid you coming to that conclusion, because that conclusion's wrong. Ma'udatema, what is it that you might say, and add in brackets, if I didn't teach you this, kaven de lemistere kai, since for being broken it stands, it has to be broken, ma ovid, what did he do? But dinei shemayim nami loy lechayev. In the laws of heaven also he shouldn't be obligated. Kamash malan. It comes to tell me that's not true. Okay. Mahuda tema, ... kamash malan. They go together like soup and sandwich, horse and carriage, love and marriage. That what? 3 parts to a mahuda tema. Mahuda tema, what might you say? ... You might have come to the following conclusion. If I hadn't said what I said, you might come to the following conclusion. Kamash malan, by virtue of me coming to say it, I taught you not to. Don't say that. Don't say what you might have said, because I just told you that's not true. Okay? That's ma'od tema, ... kamash malan. Often there's another part. Pshita, that's obvious. No. Ma'od tema, what might you have said if I hadn't said this? ... Kamash malan, that's not true. Okay? We'll talk about that tomorrow in class. Hakefef kamase shel chavere nami ma'od tema. What might you have thought? Lema, he might say, mi have yadona, do I know the asya that it's coming ruach sheina mitzuya, an unusual wind. Ubedine shemayim nami loy lechayev. And I don't have to translate those words. Kamash malan. Ula Rav Ashi, according to Rav Ashi, the Amar, that he said, Nami tamun itmar. He said that we're talking about a case of tamun. Ma'od tema. What might you have thought? Ana, I, kisui kesise nehalech. I just covered it up for you. Ubedine shemayim nami loy lechayev. Kamash malan. I have to translate those words the same every time. Hasecher eidei sheker nami ma'od tema. What might you think? Again, if I didn't tell you this explicitly, sorry, what mistake might you have made? Lema, to say, he might have said, Divrei Rav, the words of the teacher, the Divrei Talmud, and the words of the Talmud, Divrei mi shemim, to whose words do you listen? Ubedina shemayim nami lechayev, kamash malan. Hayodeya edus lechaver ve'ena meid loy nami. Ma'od tema, what might you think? Mi yemar, do we say? Me in Aramaic is not who. It's do, did, does. Okay? It's like ha'im in modern Hebrew. Eske in French. Mi amar, do we say? Dechi have, and that word asin is not there, brother. The have misadina lay, that if I were to testify for him, have maida, he would admit. Maida is admit. Masahidna is I would testify. Lay to him, for him. Have maida, he would admit. Dilma, perhaps. Have mishtaba, maybe he would take an oath. Lashikra, false. Maybe he would take a false oath. Maybe he would lie under oath. Ubedina shemayim nami lechayev, kamash malan. 2 dots. End. Okay? Say that. Stop there. Okay. Tricky little sugyas.